Hi guys, welcome back to the first. Let's say welcome back. Hi, welcome to the first video of history with Christian. And today we're going to be doing is we're going to be watching a video. We're going to be talking about what archaeological sites actually used to look like back then before they became remains. So let's watch.
Our planet's been around for a whopping 4.5 billion years.
That's
In that
crazy.
huge expanse of time, dinosaurs have been and gone, the Earth's geography has completely changed, and countless civilizations have risen and fallen. Evidence of these lost civilizations
Why is my captions on?
remain, however, in ruins across every country across the globe. But what were they like before they were ruins? Well, grab your trowel and get ready to dig in as we find out what archaeological sites used to actually look like. Sky High Citadel. Almost 8,000 feet atop a mountain in Peru's Urubamba River Valley stands the remains of one of the world's most famous ruins, the legendary Incan citadel of Machu Picchu. But when it was first discovered back in 1911 by American explorer Hiram Bingham, it was barely recognizable as a citadel at all. It's believed the Incans built this settlement high up, so it would be really tough to attack. However, this also meant that after they fled the city in the late 16th century, following a possible smallpox epidemic, it lay undiscovered for years. During this time, it became more and more overgrown, and because Incans didn't use cement or mortar, tree roots penetrated straight through the ruins, making the foliage incredibly difficult to get rid of without causing damage. Bingham and his crew were painstakingly careful though, and over the course of 4 months, they toiled away for hours a day clearing the unwanted plant life. When they were finally done, the team were amazed at the sprawling site they'd uncovered. And nowadays, after further excavation, the awe-inspiring ruin is even clearer. Of course, despite the dramatic improvement, it's still far from its 15th century glory days. Back then, it's believed the many stone houses were all in tip-top shape, with thatched roofs of dried grass. As well as residential houses, it had a farming zone, a sacred area, and a royal district where historians reckon Incan ruler Pachacuti Inca Yapanqui reigned from his palace. Really, it's a testament to the Incans' building prowess that any of it still stands today, considering how exposed the mountain citadel is to the elements. And knowing how flimsy some new buildings can be, maybe modern men should be taking a little Incan advice. The Bronze Giant. A long time ago, back in the 3rd century BC, there stood a great bronze statue in the harbor of the Greek city of Rhodes. The gargantuan monument depicted the sun god Helios and was said to stand an almighty 105 feet tall. As such, it was named the Colossus of Rhodes and became one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Sadly, however, the Colossus only stood for 54 years before a savage earthquake in 226 BC toppled it to the ground, breaking it into pieces. Even so, the destroyed remains still proved a popular tourist attraction for centuries after, until that is, in 654 AD, when Arabian forces raided Rhodes and carried the fragmented pieces of the Colossus away to be melted down and sold. How did they do this?
Oh my god. Alright, now to have you guys waiting. Oh, there we go. Never mind.
Why, with an army of 900 camels, of course. Sadly, today there's a whole load of nothing where the great statue once stood. But if you're familiar with the Colossus of Rhodes, you might be surprised to hear that despite the famous imagery of it straddling the harbor, this never happened. That iconic image actually came about centuries later, and was touted by historians in the Middle Ages who'd never seen the monument. The harbor itself is almost the same width as an American football field, so to be proportionally accurate, the statue would have to stand a stupendous 1,640 feet tall. This was firmly impossible at the time. Even now, India's Statue of Unity, which is the tallest statue in the world, is only 597 feet tall, almost 3 times shorter. So the Colossus was far more likely to have looked something like this. Not quite as impressive, but sorry, you can't become all-knowing without shattering a few dreams along the way. And you'll never become all-knowing if you don't hit those like and subscribe buttons.
I was about to say,
That way
is the
you
video
won't miss
over
another of my
already?
amazing fact-based videos ever again. Anyway, where were we? Insanity in Italy. Of all the natural disasters in recorded history, the eruption of Italy's Mount Vesuvius in the year 79 AD has captured people's imagination like no other. The ensuing ash cloud crashed down the volcano and completely covered the nearby city of Pompeii, eradicating an entire community in one fell swoop. It wasn't until about 1700 years later that archaeologists finally unearthed the ancient Roman city, and boy were they surprised. Despite all that time, the thick layer of ash had preserved everything. So,
I'm sorry. Did he say, hold on.
archaeologists finally unearthed the ancient.
Did he say the entire... They had to take this entire thing out of dirt? They just... 1700 years later, or 1700 is what some young people call it. That's freaking crazy, dude. Let's get back to the video.
Roman city, and boy were they surprised. Despite all that time, the thick layer of ash had preserved everything. So well, in fact, that the majority of the city is still recognizable. Walls, buildings, paved streets, even some art remains remarkably untouched by age. And just look at this street food stall. Man, some things really don't change. Having said that, it's still nothing like the bustling city of 12,000 people that existed for many years before the fateful eruption. The vibrant municipality had an amphitheater, gymnasium, port, and even a complex water system.
But there's
There were many temples, too,
oh,
devoted to the
that's not
myriad
that way.
gods, including the Temple of Jupiter. Unfortunately, Jupiter's temple got toppled by an earthquake in 62 AD, and today only scraps remain. Regardless, Pompeii is an
2000 AD?
astonishing place to visit if you can be brave
No,
to
we're in
be so
20
close to
AD, I
Mount
believe,
Vesuvius.
right? Yeah.
The real wall. If you've ever seen Game of Thrones, you'll be familiar with the Wall, the giant icy megastructure made to keep out threats from the north of Westeros. But did you know it's based on a real-life wall in the north of England? Yep, if you were to go there right now, you'd find the ruins of Hadrian's Wall, a huge 73-mile-long structure stretching all the way from one coast to the other. It dates far back to the year 122 AD, when the Roman Emperor Hadrian
2000
ordered
AD,
to
that's
separate
correct.
the Roman Empire in Britain from the barbarians up north. Sound familiar? The real wall, though, was made of stone, not ice, and it wasn't quite as tall as George R.R. Martin's fictional barrier. However, it was a lot grander than the meager remnants that are left over today. Standing almost
Let's not forget about the ice wall. Let's put it you guys know.
Almost 20 feet tall in some places, the towering barricade was an intimidating sight to behold. And it wasn't just a wall. By the end of the 4th century, a whopping 40 forts called mile castles had been built along it too. As well as these, the extensive structure also hosted 17 larger forts and numerous observation towers to ensure nothing got past. When the Romans left Britain at the start of the 5th century, however, the wall quickly fell into disrepair. People began plundering it by removing great chunks of stone and using it to build other things, like churches, farms, and houses. And although this practice was ended by the 19th century, by that time the damage had already been done. Where imposing mile castles once stood guard, now only waist-high fragments of stone remain.
Hold on, guys. I'm gonna be right back in a second. 3, 2, 1.